Hey folks, it's Greg and Janet with Strange RV Tours. Today we're out in the small Texas town of Rockwall. It's in North Texas, and we're going to check out the home of Marina Oswald. She is the widow of Lee Harvey Oswald. This is kind of what the terrain looks like out here. Now Rockwall is really kind of a happening city now, though. It's got a lot of stuff, a lot of entertainment. Got a historic downtown area, but we're out on the outskirts, kind of running through the countryside looking for Marina Oswald's home. Marina was born July 17th, 1941 in the northwestern portion of the Soviet Union. In 1957, Marina, who was 16 years old, moved in with an uncle of hers in Minsk. He was a colonel in the Soviet Ministry of Internal Affairs. While living with him, she studied pharmacy, or she wanted to become a pharmacist. On March 17th of 1961, she met Lee Harvey Oswald. She met him at a dance. Lee had defected to the Soviet Union, was living over there, and 6 weeks after meeting Marina, they got married. The following year, they had their first daughter. Her name was June, and they immigrated back to the United States and settled in Dallas, Texas. And at a party in 1963, a Mr. George D. Mohrenchild introduced the couple to Ruth Paine. She was or is a Quaker and Russian language student. Early in 1963, Oswald ordered two weapons, mail order, a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver and a Mannlicher Carcano rifle. That was a rifle that is believed used in the assassination of President Kennedy. Now, Marina told the Warren Commission she took one photo of Lee Harvey Oswald in their backyard at their apartment in Dallas with him holding the Mannlicher Carcano rifle and some paperwork in the other hand. The paperwork turned out to be a newspaper called The Militia. In that copy of the paperwork, they declared General Edwin Walker a fascist. Now, Lee Harvey Oswald supposedly later tried to assassinate General Edwin Walker. We did a video on that home where it happened and the events surrounding it. You can check that out on our channel if you'd like. The Warren Commission told Marina that they had 4 photos, or actually 2 photos at the time. Turned out there was 4 photos that were taken in the backyard that day. Now, after kind of browbeating Marina, she admitted that she may have taken 2 photos. She'd only remembered taking 1 photo, but maybe she snapped the camera twice. Well, it turned out there's actually 4 photos that were taken, and there's credible statements by somebody who said there's a 5th that is out there also. We also did a video on Lee Harvey Oswald locations in the Dallas area, and we showed the staircase that Oswald was standing in front of in that video, if you want to check it out on our YouTube channel. These photos later turned up in the garage, or were found in the garage of Ruth Paine. One of the photos ended up in the hands of George D. Mohrenchild. That photo had been given to him and signed and dated by Lee Harvey Oswald on April 5th, 1963. It also had a quote attributed to Marina in Russian that said, "Hunter of fascists, ha ha ha." Now, Marina denied ever writing that on the photograph to the Warren Commission. She also denied writing it at a 1977 testimony that she gave to the House Select Committee on Assassinations. In April of 1963, Marina moved her daughter, along with herself, to Ruth Paine's home. She had kind of separated from Lee Harvey Oswald. He stayed in a rooming house at the time. During that summer, he moved to New Orleans for a time, came back to Dallas. He and Marina were working on getting back together, so he would, during the weekdays, he would stay in a rooming house in Dallas, and then on the weekends, he would go to Ruth Paine's house and stay with Ruth Paine and Marina. The rooming house that Lee Harvey Oswald was staying at was in Oak Cliff, and we've done a video on that location also. Now, Ruth Paine learned from an acquaintance that the Texas School Book Depository was hiring people. So she gave the information to Lee Harvey Oswald, who got the job, and he became an order filler at the Texas School Book Depository. Lee continued to live weekdays at his rooming house and on the weekends at Ruth Payne's house with Marina until he was arrested after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Now, Marina learned about the assassination from the media. She had no idea that Lee may have been involved in this, and then the police showed up and wanted to know if Lee owned a rifle. Marina directed the police to the garage and told the police that Lee kept the rifle bundled up in a blanket. That's also where they found the photos, of the backyard photos. Marina was subsequently questioned at the Dallas Police Department headquarters as to whether she knew anything about Lee being involved in the assassination of President Kennedy, and also the murder and shooting of J.D. Tippit, a Dallas police officer. She denied having any knowledge of anything having to do with either situation. 2 days later, Marina was widowed when Jack Ruby shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald when they were transporting him from the Dallas police station. In the morgue, when Marina saw Lee Harvey Oswald, she opened his eyelids, and she's quoted as saying, "He cry, he eye wet." She was questioned 4 times by the Warren Commission, who didn't consider her a very reliable witness, especially when they asked her questions about the assassination attempt on Edwin Walker. But she did tell the Warren Commission that it was her belief that her husband was guilty of shooting President Kennedy. She reiterated that same testimony before the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1978. Now, after the events that happened with the assassination, the burial, everything else having to do at that time, she remained in Dallas, Texas for a short time. She had received anonymous donations of $70,000. She also sold Lee's Russian diary for $20,000 and a picture of him holding the gun used to shoot Kennedy for $5,000. In 1965, she enrolled at the University of Michigan. She later returned to Dallas and bought a house. She ended up married again in 1965 to a Kenneth Jess Porter, whom she had a son with, and whom she later accused of domestic violence. Although Marina has never recanted her story that she gave to the Warren Commission, from what I understand reading online, today she believes that Lee had nothing to do with the murders of President Kennedy or J.D. Tippit. And in fact, there was a photo taken during the assassination or immediately following the assassination. There was a group of photographers that were riding along in the motorcade, and one of them was using a video camera or some type of film camera, and they filmed the entrance to the Texas School Book Depository. And there's a man standing there that looks a lot like Lee Harvey Oswald. It turned out his name is Billy Lovelady, and he's wearing a plaid shirt, but in the photo he looks a lot like Lee Harvey Oswald. A lot of people thought that was Lee Harvey Oswald. Turned out it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. But to the left of that man, Billy Lovelady, kind of in the shadows, there is a man that has come to be known as the Prayer Man, because he has his arm up kind of like this, and it looks like in the shadows he may be praying. Marina believes that that man is Lee Harvey Oswald, the Prayer Man, and that he was leaving the School Book Depository at the time that President Kennedy was shot. So take from that what you will. But we're gonna go over and take a look at Marina's house real quick. Ooh. She's a very reclusive person and does not do any interviews. Although her neighbors in the Rockwall area here say that she's a wonderful person and a great neighbor. This home right here is the home of Marina Oswald today. She is a pharmacist. Don't know if she's retired or not, but this is her home. in Rockwall, Texas. I'm not going to give the exact address to maintain some semblance of privacy. But as you can see, the home sits back behind a bunch of trees, so she's obviously kind of a recluse, doesn't like a lot of attention. But it's a very nice home.
Strange RV tours will take you places with Greg and Janet's smiling faces. You might see a crazy flavored soda review or some tips to fit your RV too. So come along, won't you join us, friend, as we discover what's around the bend. Just sit right back in your easy chair. Strange RV Tours is on the air. Strange RV Tours is on the air.